Hello YouTube, this is Froogle by popular demand with a Black Shark video. Now I am going to continue the campaign videos that I promised a while ago, but first I thought it'd be handy to do a little video on basics of the Black Shark. More importantly, the trimmer and the autopilot. Even though this has been out some years now, I still see a lot of people on the forums have a lot of problems with this and think the aircraft is trying to kill them. It's really not. You just need to understand what the heck's going on, and it is a little confusing at first. Excuse the bounciness. I got track IR fitted right now. I probably should turn it off, but I'm not going to. I'll give you a few pro tips before we get started. First, if you're new to Black Shark, you never played it before, adjust your graphics options so you're getting at least 30 frames a second. Anything less than 30 frames a second gives you quite a jerky flight model. It's very, very hard to finesse this thing, and you need to finesse it. Second, use a joystick, rudder pedals, throttle, or get a joystick that has them all combined. But whatever you do, try to put the joystick dead center of your body, which is how it is in the actual aircraft. You can see it right there. In my case, I'm using a Thrustmaster Warthog, and because it has such a thin base, it's kind of cool. You can actually sit on it. So I'm actually sitting with my legs on the base now, with the joystick between my legs. Yeah, don't laugh, no sniggering. This is a grown-up channel. But this is more realistic and it's more natural in terms of controlling a helicopter. So that's the second pro tip. Third pro tip, when you get in the aircraft, I know a lot of you don't go through the full startup. If you want to learn the full startup, I can do a video on it. Let me know in the comment section below. Failing that, if you have an iPhone, get TapCheck, which has the full spoken checklist for how to start this bird up. But even so, make sure the throttle, the collective is on the floor. It's hilarious in a multiplayer game to see the guys who are doing the quick start thing. They forgot to floor the collective, and you see them just bounce skywards as soon as the blades start turning, which is hilarious. Don't be a noob. Okay, next thing, press Control and Enter. That shows you your joystick. You can see there's my joystick right there. There's my rudder pedals. You might not be able to see that on the video, hopefully you can. And there's the collective on the left. You need that because of how a trimmer works in the Black Shark. What the trimmer does is it basically locks your controls in a certain position. So if I push this joystick slightly left and slightly forward and hit the trimmer button, now I've let go of the joystick completely. Notice the joystick on that view bottom left is locked in position, and the aircraft is actually trying to turn right now on the ground. That's what the trimmer does. It locks your controls in a certain fixed position. It actually does a bit more than that, which I'll get onto, I guess, right about now. Make sure you map the trimmer button onto your joystick. Make sure you map reset trimmer, which is what I just pressed, onto your joystick as well. So you can have it trimmed to there, and then you can very quickly reset it back to the normal position. Now, if all the trimmer did was hold your controls in a certain position, that would be great. It doesn't though. See those blue lights down there? Those are autopilot channels. You have 4 of them: pitch, bank, heading, and altitude. When you trim, you are actually programming your autopilot, which is crazy, I know. In addition to that, there is a damping system built into the Black Shark to prevent you doing something stupid and getting a pilot-induced oscillation. If you fly any other sims, like normal fixed-wing sims, you've probably seen this. This is where you're coming into approach. My God, this track IR is bouncing all over the place. You've probably seen this where you're coming into approach and you're trying to jostle the rate of descent with the airspeed, and you end up porpoising through the sky, kind of like a dolphin. Jumping around in the sea, having a lot of fun. It's not very pleasant. In a helicopter, it's very, very dangerous. So you have damping in the aircraft as well. You can turn it off. You have a button which you need to map somewhere. Just go look at the options in the sim, called Autopilot Emergency Disengage. If I press that right now, I pressed the wrong one. Let me fix that. If I press that now, you see all the autopilot channels turn out, all the dampening turns out as well. This would now be an extremely frisky helicopter to fly. I don't tend to fly that way. I prefer having at least 3 of them on, and I'll show you how to work around the sluggishness that they give you. What I'm going to do right now is just take off, and we'll trim this, and I'll show you how the autopilot, the damping, and the trimmer all work together. And even if you've been flying this for some time, you might learn something, so bear with it. Alright, so I'm taking off. The aircraft already wants to pitch back, so I'm putting forward pressure on the joystick. What I can do now is trim. Like so. Okay, now I actually cheated a little bit, and I'm going to tell you all about the cheat in a second. It's not a cheat, it's actually how the aircraft works. What you need to bear in mind is that when you hit that trimmer button, when you click it on and off, you are programming the autopilot. So if I turn slightly to the left here, there we go. Look at my HUD. See the diamond off to the right on the heading tape? Okay, when I hit that trim button, that diamond is going to jump. Watch. See it jump? You're programming the autopilot saying this heading. as well as this speed, as well as this amount of roll. So at the moment, although it wants to go to that heading, I have a certain amount of roll set in, I've got a certain amount of pitch set in. I'm not doing altitude hold, so the aircraft is going to quite happily sit here all day long turning in a left-hand circle. Now, the autopilot has 20% authority. What that means is, think of moving your joystick full left or full right. That's 100%. The autopilot can actually move it 20% left, 20% right, 20% forward, 20% back. Now, it is holding the joystick with the trimmer slightly off to the left, as you can see on the red box bottom left of the screen. If I wanted to level out right now, I would need to apply right stick, like so. So I'm trying to level out, stop that turn. You see how much I've moved the stick over now? Now what happens is when I trim this, well, before I trim this, right now the autopilot is exerting up to 20% movement of the joystick to the left to try to hold the course that I had programmed when I trimmed it before. So when I trim it right now, what's going to happen is, well, when you trim it, you need to let go of the controls and let them return to center. But as soon as I do that, the autopilot will still be applying 20% left. It will rapidly move the joystick to the right, and you will see us lurch to the right, which is why most people think the autopilot in the Black Shark is trying to kill them. Watch, I'm going to trim it right about now. So 3, 2, 1, click. See that? Nose pitch down and to the right. That is the autopilot somewhat overcompensating. It has to cancel out what it was trying to do and then get to what you were trying to get it to do. There is an option, by the way, in the game general options where you can turn center mode trimming off. Don't. I actually prefer it this way. Most people, it just takes a bit of practice, you know. The key is that when you trim it, you need to let go of the controls. So if I trim this, I need to let go of everything, including the rudder pedals, for the aircraft to know I'm done. That's actually another reason why people think the autopilot is trying to kill them, incidentally. If I trim this right now, so I'm going to turn to the left here. Bear in mind, I'm pushing left. The autopilot is now exerting 20% pressure to the right, so when I trim it, it's going to lurch to the left, which would be now. There it goes, lurchy, lurchy. If you don't return the controls to center when you trim it, so I'm holding it to the right now, I'm going to trim it, but I'm not going to return the controls to the center. I am now moving my joystick in a full 360, and you'll notice it's having zero effect on the helicopter. I really am waggling this joystick 360 degrees around in my lap right now. You need to let go of the joystick completely and the rudder pedals, and then take control again for the aircraft to respond. Bear that in mind. Now the trick to get around that lurchiness of the autopilot and the dampening system is actually that the trimmer button works in two ways. If you just click it, as I've been doing, so position the joystick here, click, let go, you're setting into the autopilot this amount of roll, pitch, and so on, and it will try to get there eventually. You can see it's going to take about 4 or 5 seconds, but it actually will level the aircraft a little bit to where I had it, bring the nose up, so we're all good. If you want to get around that, the second mode is actually to hold the hold the trimmer button down. When you hold the trimmer button down, you are overriding the autopilot. So if I hold the trimmer button now down, look, instant response as I move the joystick. I can do anything I want. I've still got the trimmer button held down. I can rapidly reposition the aircraft, which I'm going to do, back towards that runway. Let's get some turn going here, Froogle. I've lost my runway. Should be about there. There it is. And then as soon as you release the trimmer button, you're setting the autopilot again as you would normally be when you trim. So I'm just going to bring the nose up a little bit, get the aircraft level. Keep wanting to say wings level. Release the trimmer, you'll hear a click. There you go, and you can see the diamond jumped. I've now programmed the autopilot as to the heading that I want, and so on and so on. So if you're having trouble with the trimmer, that's another thing to bear in mind. Rather than just clicking it and return to center, hold it. Do what you want. When you're done, let go of the trimmer, and again, return your controls to their center position. So that's how the trimmer works. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Let's try and get this stabilized a little bit. Now you have an autopilot built into this as well, and it's a pretty neat autopilot. It will fly an entire route for you, albeit somewhat sedately. So the way that works, there's two things you need to pay attention to. One is this, which is a navigation system down here. Not this. This is the Abris. This is a digital map and information system. It is not linked in any way, shape or form to the autopilot. It just gives you information. I'm going to turn it on right now, just because it's a nice pretty picture. And we're going to fly this route up here. So that way, box at the top. Actually not going to do a whole route, but you'll get the idea. So that shows me where I am, where I'm going to go. To use the autopilot, what I need to do, hit the waypoint button. Choose a waypoint number, so waypoint number 1. And then, down here on the collective, there is a switch which says route descent. flick that into route mode, like so. The autopilot will kick in, and it will start turning us towards the waypoint that we selected. How cool is that? You still have complete control over the collective, so you can adjust your height as you see fit. So if you're flying towards a combat area, you might want to be a little bit lower than I am right now, or higher if you're traveling a long distance for the scenery. But it's as simple as that. Just engage route mode, select your waypoint, engage route mode, and you are good to go. If you wanted to, you can engage altitude hold as well. It will try to hold now 195 meters. If I want to override that, I need to hold the rotor brake down before I move collective brake down before I move the collective lever. You might want to map that onto your throttle. I tend to not fly with that, I just don't like it. And here it goes now, flying on course towards the waypoint. We're getting blown a little bit off course because of the wind. I can select a different waypoint if I want to right now. So let's say I want to go back to the airfield. Airfields are not waypoints, they are airfields. There are two programmed in, your departure airfield and your return airfield. So I'm going to go return airfield number 2. There goes the autopilot. You can see it's quite sedate on how it turns and stuff like that. But if you've got a lot of setting up to do, and you do when you're flying towards a combat area, this is great. Because right now, while it's flying the autopilot, I've got my collective set exactly where I want, so I'm not climbing or descending. Well, I was, but I'm not now. So I can go heads down right now, and I can turn on the weapon systems, I can uncage Schval, start looking for targets, and so on and so on and so on. Which is pretty neat. So that's going to fly me back towards the runway, and then I'm going to show you the combat autopilot. Yes, you have a combat autopilot, which is kind of cool. It's actually called auto turn to target. Most people just refer to it as ATT or auto turn to target rather than combat autopilot. I like it. Actually, I can show you the hover mode as well. Alright, so we're on course now for the end of the runway. I'm going to turn route mode off down there. It's the R key. I have it mapped to my throttle here. There we go, it's off. I'm going to hold that trimmer button down, drop my collective, because I don't want to be climbing as I do this. There we go, and nose up. Start rapidly slowing down. A little bit of over torque there. That was foolish. Okay, a lot of people refer to the hover system in this aircraft as auto hover. It's not, it's hover hold. You need to be in or very close to a hover before you engage it. The aircraft also needs to be trimmed. So that bar that's just extending on the HUD right there is showing that I'm drifting to the left and I'm going forwards. So I am going to correct that drift like so, pull back to correct my forward motion like so. And when it gets to about 15 or less, I can engage hover hold. If you do it more than that, what hover hold actually does is it takes your current position and tries to return you to it. So if you're traveling quite fast and you hit hover hold, you'll find the nose of the aircraft will rapidly pitch up and probably you'll lose control and crash. Alright, so hover hold on now. You can see it pitched up already because I was traveling forward. It's trying to get me back to where I was when I hit that button. And we're in hover mode right now. So with hover mode active, what I can do for the weapon system here, look at this. If I turn the aircraft around, using the rudder pedals to turn the aircraft around now. Don't be too mental on the rudder pedals. You can cause the aircraft to yaw, which will upset the hover hold. So be a little bit gentle. I can also trim now, by the way. So if I'm constantly holding left pedals, I can trim this. Like so. That resets the hover hold to where I currently am. Okay, if I turn on Schval, the targeting system, and start bringing it down. By the way, when you turn on Schval, it works two ways. Once you turn it on, you turn it on. If you click it again, it goes into scan mode. Look, you see that? People think it's got a mind of its own and it's just one. What the hell is it doing? It's called scan mode. It's so that you can fly and pay attention to that screen without having to manually drive the sensor. You'll find it will reach a certain limit over there to the left and then it'll come back to the right. And it just lets you scan an area very quickly. There are controls down there on the targeting panel to control how quickly it scans, which are very, very useful. We will cover those in a separate video. For now, I'm going to stop it scanning. And what I'm going to do is find something, a potential target. So there's a bunker there. There's some vehicles over there. In fact, let's zoom in on those vehicles. There we go. So there's some vehicles. I can put the sensor on one of those vehicles. What the hell is going on? I can't change the size of my tracking gates. I thought I had them mapped, but I don't. I have to use the keyboard. Okay, if I lock that, what I can engage is auto turn to target at this point, and the aircraft will turn to target. If you're using the guided missiles, you need to be looking dead at the target to fire, otherwise you won't get the launch cue. The way that works is there's a button down here, auto turn. Again, I have that mapped on my throttle here. If I turn that on, see that? The aircraft will now turn and try to hold that target dead center. The other thing you can do, by the way, with auto target turned on, you can engage the helmet mounted sight, which for some stupid reason is not working, probably because I need to have everything armed. There it is. Okay, with the helmet mounted sight you can look around and target stuff. The way you do that is you look around and then push the uncaged valve button, and you will basically target the area. So if I look at these helicopters down here, press the uncaged valve button, which is O. So I've just locked the target to my right, and because I have auto turn to target on, the aircraft will automatically start turning. The autopilots will do that for me towards that target. How freaking awesome is that? There's a target that I was looking at. Big ugly ass helicopter right down there. Very cool. So once again, I can look over here. Let's say I want to take a look at that jet that's down there. Press the O key. So I've locked it up. Aircraft is turning to target now, and now I'm free to do everything else I need to do to actually lock it, you know, adjust my tracking gate and so on and so on. Anyway, that's about it. Oh, by the way, to get out of this, just press that auto turn to target button again, like so. It will disengage, turn auto hover off, and you are good to go. Bear in mind, auto hover does turn on altitude hold. You might want to turn that off when you've finished messing around, which I'm going to do right now. Alright. And we're good. So that's about it. As I said, I will be doing another video showing weapons usage and targeting and firing and all that gory stuff, and obviously continuing with the Black Shark campaign. If there's anything in particular you want to see me take a look at in the Black Shark, let me know. I'm also curious as to how many of you want to see... Why am I still in hover hold? There we go. I also want to see how many of you would be interested in maybe seeing the DCS A-10, which is another personal favorite of mine. Thanks for watching. As always, my name is Froogle, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, guys.